Lieutenant Marcellus Jones's service in the 8th Illinois Volunteer Cavalry had been undistinguished. That is until the early morning hours of July the 1st, 1863, when he took aim at a Confederate officer on horseback leading a column of haggard, tired, and hungry men. Donning the same dirty and tattered uniforms of butternut and gray, or a well-worn bit of homespun that they lived in for months and now barely clung to their malnourished frames, these men must have cast a ghostly appearance as they materialized out of the dense fog that blanketed the Cashtown Pike. Jones pulled the trigger, etching his place in history. Join us as we explore the Battle of Gettysburg, Part 1, The First Shot. The grandson of a Revolutionary War officer, Jones was born in Rutland County, Vermont in 1830. After setting out on his own at the age of 17, he traveled selling jewelry but failed to make this venture profitable. He would eventually move to New York and then to Ohio working as a carpenter, a skill he would capitalize on when in 1854 he would open up a door factory in Wisconsin. Now, married with a child on the way, life seemed to be set with a bright future for young Marcellus. But life does as it does from time to time and throws curveballs. In early 1857, fire would destroy his factory, leaving the father to be penniless. Then life would show her crueler side when on June the 10th his wife Sarah died during childbirth, followed a few days later by their newborn son. In his grief, Marcellus moved once again, this time to Danbury, Illinois, where he would find success as a builder. 1861 brought the opening shots of the U.S. Civil War, and for Marcellus Jones, a new calling when the state of Illinois called on its men to join for duty. Jones was among the first to respond, enlisting as a private. An abolitionist, he helped recruit Company E of the 8th Illinois Cavalry. The following year, Jones accepted a commission as a second lieutenant, and by the spring of 1863, the Illinois 8th Cavalry was placed in the newly formed U.S. Army 1st Cavalry Division, headed by Major General John Buford. Fate would now place Marcellus in the rendezvous with history when General Robert E. Lee moved into Northern Territory with his Army of North Virginia and the Union's Army of the Potomac under the command of its newly appointed leader, General George Gordon Meade, in pursuit. Buford's cavalry rode into Pennsylvania, screening the movements of the Army of the Potomac's advance while on the hunt for Lee's Army of North Virginia. Buford told his men, "Within 48 hours, the concentration of both armies will take place on some field within view, and a great battle will be fought." It was the 29th of June, and Buford and his men were around 12 miles from the town of Gettysburg. The following morning found the troops of Buford's cavalry on the move, riding towards Gettysburg, the 8th Illinois at the head of the column. An advance guard of Brigadier General Johnston Pettigrew's Confederate Infantry Brigade was spotted to the west of Gettysburg on the Cashtown Pike. Jones would later recall, "We advanced 1 mile to the old Herr's Tavern on the ridge west of Willoughby's Run, where we made our headquarters. It fell on my lot to have charge of the picket, and with around 35 men went forward 1 mile further. The vedettes settled along Knoxland Ridge." Jones later wrote that, spreading their blankets with their saddles for pillows, we lie down to rest. Unaware of his part in history was only hours away, he shut his eyes for some much-needed rest. In the pre-dawn hours of July the 1st, Jones awoke and dutifully rode the picket line, checking on the men before heading back towards Herr's Tavern to get breakfast. His meal plans quickly dashed soon after he arrived, later recalling that Private George Heim came galloping in from the picket post at full speed, who said that Sergeant Levi Schaefer wanted me at once. Springing into my saddle, I was soon there and could see a cloud of dust rising above the trees some distance up the mountain. The dust being kicked up was from two Confederate brigades of Major Henry Heath's division, the Archer Brigade and the Davis Brigade. Leading the march of A.P. Hill's Third Corps, marching in column towards Gettysburg from Cashtown, Heath was new and inexperienced in his command role. Not too far behind the brigades of Archer and Davis was the rest of Heath's division, as well as the entire division of Major General William Pender. This was going to be a probing mission, as General Lee's orders were to avoid a general engagement until the full Army of North Virginia had concentrated in the area. Jones, who was eyeing the approaching rebels breaking through the morning fog, found himself at the home of Ephraim Whistler, a 31-year-old local blacksmith. Dismounting and running to a picket post set up along the side yard of the Whistler house, Jones saw Private Heim raise his gun to fire and implored, "Hold on, George, give me the honor of opening the ball." Jones then asked Schaefer for a Sharp's carbine. Using the fence of the Whistler house to stabilize it, Marcellus took aim through the morning mist with the 50 caliber rifle and drew a bead, later recounting, "I took aim at an officer on a white or gray horse and fired the first shot of the Battle of Gettysburg." It is believed that the officer targeted by Jones was Colonel Barquette Fry of the 13th Alabama Infantry Regiment, the spearhead of Archer's brigade. Jones missed his target in what would be the first of over 1 million shots that would be fired over the course of the next 3 days. After Jones took his shot, the Confederates broke into defensive lines and unlimbered a couple artillery pieces to fire on the Union cavalrymen, but missed them. However, this engagement would see the battle's first casualty, though not a conventional one. Ephraim Whistler stepped out of his two-story house to investigate the action taking place outside. After stepping out into the road to get a better view of the approaching lines of Butternut and Gray, a Confederate shell suddenly smashed into the road near the curious blacksmith. Now, although he was not directly hit by the shell, Whistler was nevertheless shell-shocked, and due to either existing heart problems or damage from the shockwave from the exploding shell, he would not be the same. He went back into his home and took to bed, and died of heart failure a little more than a month later on August the 11th of 1863, leaving behind a widow and 2 children. Marcellus Jones would survive the war. In 1886, he, along with Sergeant Schaefer and Lieutenant Riddler, had a 5-foot limestone shaft hewn in a Naperville quarry and brought it 600 miles to Gettysburg, erecting it on land purchased from the owner of the Whistler House, which still stands to this day on the Chambersburg Pike at Knoxton Road, 3 miles west of the town of Gettysburg. To learn more about the Battle of Gettysburg, visit your school or local public library and check out the description box below for a link to the Gettysburg National Military Park. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and share this video with others. And as always, thank you from the History and Heritage Explorers. Until next time, keep on exploring.